We've met with JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, Cantor Fitzgerald. The banks are all looking at this as like, dude, you have an indestructible business. I put together a $330 million real estate Bitcoin fund. I went and met with Mike Saylor. He's like, you are perfect. You should be doing exactly what I'm doing. We did that in January. That fund today is worth what we thought it would be worth in 5 years. We had 500 people invest with us. 400 had zero exposure to Bitcoin.
Do you see this as a potential to become like the strategy version in the real estate market?
Yeah, 100%. We'll take this public. This thing could just explode. If I get 5% of the REIT business, I'm $200 billion. And we've accumulated almost 3,000 Bitcoin in 10 months. We're not a treasury company. I got real cash flow coming.
Archie.
Hey, Grant Cardone, welcome, man. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Hey, great to be with you, my friend.
You know, I'd always had you almost pigeonholed as a real estate guy, and now here you are combining the two. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got started in real estate to start with, and then we'll sort of bring it to the present moment because it's fascinating.
Yeah. So look, I mean, I've been asked this question before, but like, oh, when did you get orange pilled? I don't think that is a, you know, the fact that the Bitcoin community thinks somebody is orange pill, which is basically just somebody being educated about something, not much different from me being a Democrat the first 35 years of my life. And then as I started accumulating assets and having a business and owning a business and paying taxes and feeling the influence of some of the programs, that party aspires to be, I'm like, you start slowly starting to think about your position. And, you know, when you don't have any money, you don't think about money. I grew up with no money, Archie. So when you don't grow up with money, you just think about, I just want some money. And in the case of growing up in the middle class, I want some cash. And I grew up in an era, 1958, I was born. And so I grew up in an era where cash is king. You know, the US dollar, save, prepare for retirement, you know, get a good education, all this indoctrination and freedom and courage, and you can make it, and bootstrapping and all that great American language that has inspired me to be who I am today and to become something. But in the beginning, it was just like, get cash. And then, to answer your question about the real estate, I was 28 years old. I was starting to make a little money for the first time in my life. I had no money at 25 years old. I was broke, had no money, no income, just got out of a treatment center for drug addiction. Was $40,000 in debt, had terrible drug addiction for 10 years. Awful, nasty, terrible. And had $275 a month rent that I couldn't pay 3 or 4 times of the year, by the way. Had lost my reputation and my credibility in the little town that I lived in. Barely had a job. And trying to put my life back together. And it's like, okay, what can you do to put your life back together? Get a job. So I got a job and I got good at the job. And then I got a little better at the job. I just threw myself into this one job. And then by 3 or 4 years later, I started putting a little money together. So imagine I'm 25, I'm broke and broken. By 28 or 29, I start having a little money. Now what do? I don't know what to do with the money. And I started looking at different things that I could invest in. My brother, Gary Cardone, who's a very cool dude and a great guy and a Bitcoiner, he said, man, you need to learn about stocks. And I tried to learn about the stocks, dude. And I was like, it's so complicated. I'm like, I don't get this shit. Like, I don't understand this. This is no better than money. And so, I started looking at real estate. I said, oh, I could buy the real estate. My money, I just trade my money for the real estate. I can see the real estate. It pays me a little cash flow every month.
Juliette.
So I basically had a little bit of money and I started pushing the money into real estate. The cash flowed. Found out I got tax write-offs, but I didn't feel like I lost anything because I took the money and moved it into this asset called real estate. And I've been buying real estate since I was 28 years old. So today we own, I started with a single family unit, and today we own 14,200 units, 500,000 square feet of office, a little bit of retail. We do about $340 million a year in gross revenues. Cash flow is about $125 a year. It's been a great business for me.
Looking for a secure, trusted way to buy, sell, and hold Bitcoin? Gemini has been leading the way since 2014. Founded by the Winklevoss twins to be a security-first, fully regulated Bitcoin platform, with Gemini, your Bitcoin is protected with enterprise-grade security, backed by insurance and Type 2 certifications for both SOC 1 and SOC 2. Whether you're new to Bitcoin or a long-time hodler, Gemini gives you the tools to stack sats and build generational wealth your way. From simple one-tap buys to advanced charts and trading features, it's all here. Buy, sell, and hold securely. That's Gemini. Gemini. Bitcoin with confidence. The DeBiFi Prepaid Visa card is here. Just borrow against your Bitcoin, load US dollars onto your card, and pay instantly. No banks, no selling your Bitcoin. Just secure, short-term loans backed by your Bitcoin. Ready to spend with your DeBiFi Prepaid Visa card. It's also non-custodial. Your keys, your Bitcoin, always. Get cash, keep your Bitcoin upside, and spend it anywhere. That's DeBiFi. Bitcoin-backed loans, now in your wallet. I mean, real estate has been a very good absorber of monetary debasement for the longest time. And so my curiosity goes towards, what made you think about Bitcoin at all when you're already involved in an industry and by the sounds of it, mastering an industry that is already a very good sink and a sponge for monetary debasement. What made you want to consider Bitcoin and not stick to what you already knew?
Well, because I have a disorder. I have a mental disorder. That is what the government calls it. I have I have the genetic break of having I'm overly ambitious. It seems to be some kind of mental disease now. I am constantly seeking to be better, which they're now calling a mental illness. I have the propensity to never be satisfied. And so, I'm looking to how can I improve my investment? How can I improve my real estate? How can I make my real estate better? How can I make it move faster? How can I make it how can I get it to appreciate quicker? So you can only do so many things with a piece of real estate. We buy the best real estate in the world. I mean, like no one, even if you're not a fan of Grant Cardone, when I say we buy the best real estate in the world, even my haters would not dare suggest that we don't. We buy best in class, trophy, perfect locations. And no matter what I do, I can change the name, change the roof, change the plumbing, change the sinks, change the floors, change the paint. I can't change the location, but anything I can change, I've tried to change in order to increase the value of that property. At some point, you run out of things you can do to a real asset. So I was in a room. I'll tell you what happened. Okay. I was in a room. First of all, 13 years ago, it started like this. 13 years ago, somebody gave me Bitcoin. Real estate's not my only business. I have an educational business that has allowed me to speak on some of the largest stages in the world to some of the largest companies in the world. And people would hire me to go in and speak at their conventions or in front of their sales department or their marketing company or some of the largest sales organizations in the world, like Chrysler or Lexus or furniture companies. Ashley Furniture would call me up and say, "Hey, can you come in and speak to our team?" Big insurance companies would ask me, like this insurance guy just called in. "Hey, we want to pay you to come speak to our team for an hour and a half, get them motivated, focused, set new targets, think big, blah, blah, blah." So I get a phone call from a group that says, "We want Grant to speak in Las Vegas, but we can't pay him in money. We can only pay him in Bitcoin." This is 13 or 14 years ago. And it went to my guy, Jared. He's the president of the company. And he's like, "Yeah, we don't take Bitcoin." We didn't know what it was. Then Sherry got an email. She's my COO. And she's like, yeah, we don't take Bitcoin. We take money. This is his fee. This is what it costs. And then I heard about it. This guy he kept persisting. We really want Grant to be our speaker. And this is the only way I can pay for it. And I think I was in a weekly meeting and they said something about Bitcoin and this guy wanted to pay in Bitcoin. I'm like, well, dude, look, if I'm already in Vegas, I like to speak to people. I love helping people. It's a new company in a new sector that's growing. And the fact that we don't know anything about it, I think this is really important for your audience to hear. I doubt the non-Bitcoiners are listening to your room. But even for you guys that are Bitcoiners that are trying to orange pill people, the way you guys do it is going to take forever. It's going to take 500 years because the way you guys, everybody admits that you're not doing a good job of orange pilling.
And we know it as well, but it feels like people orange pill in the way that they want to talk to other Bitcoiners rather than understand and empathize with the pain points of a customer. I mean, you've been in sales, you know that particularly well. And it's just like, I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall when I say these things.
You're telling people, first of all, there's no urgency. You have no urgency. If there's no urgency, there's no close. Typically, you don't have the decision maker. Okay. And the value add proposition is terrible from the Bitcoin community. Oh, money's being debased. We're printing too much money. Okay, like it's this terror, like, oh, yeah, and what am I going to do something about it this afternoon? I don't care. Okay, like the pitch is wrong. So what this guy did was, I want to give Grant 115 Bitcoin to speak at my event. At that time, that was worth about 50 grand. It's $11 million this morning. Okay, so I said, look, the guy can't pay us in money. The fact that we don't know what Bitcoin is doesn't mean we should say no. I wrote a book called Sell or Be Sold. In that book, it says never say no to the customer. Say yes, and then figure out how to make it work for both parties. Okay, you wouldn't say yes to jump off the bridge. Sure, man, I'll do it, but you're not going to jump off the bridge. Okay, so I say yes in order to get agreement alignment with the customer. So I said, look, tell the guy we'll take his Bitcoin and let us figure out what the hell the Bitcoin is. I mean, the worst case is, Jared, we can take the Bitcoin, convert it to cash. Don't say no. Saying no to anything is stupid. Okay. So, I mean, not anything. Drugs, obviously, you want to say no, an STD, you want to say no. But goddamn, somebody tells you, hey, I want to give you 115 mules or 115 pounds of manure or 115 pounds of Bitcoin. Your job is to figure out how to get rid of the Bitcoin and get what you want for it. Or the manure or the mules or whatever the case is, right? So we went back and told the guy, sure, man, I'll take the Bitcoin. I was in Vegas anyway. This is the crazy thing. My team was telling a guy no when I was literally 2 blocks away from $11 million. And all I had to do was do what I like to do anyway, which is help people. Okay. I would have done the gig for nothing, Archie. So that was my original experience with Bitcoin was somebody said, here. And by the way, any Bitcoiner can do that. Okay. You guys want to orange pill people? Here. There's a Satoshi. Boom. Here's your first one. Start the account for them. Quit telling them what it is. Explain them what it is. Boom. Seed the account. Okay. What 100 Satoshis is going to cost you what? No, 10,000 Satoshis, what, $89 today or something?
It's virtually nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. So if you don't have 10,000, make it 1,000 Satoshis. Okay. If you're so dead, like you see, when the problem with the Bitcoin community is you guys are educating people, not understanding that when you educate people, you have a student. You don't have an investor. Okay. When I'm explaining the owner's manual of the car to you, you're buying a Porsche and I'm like, oh, let me show you what this car does. I have a student. I don't have a buyer. Okay. When I say, hey, dude, what do you like most about the car? And he's like, fuck, I'm going to take my chick out tonight and it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to freaking fly, blah, blah. He's tripping out. He's a buyer now. He's not a student. And so if you guys want to Bitcoin more people, the way to do, and this is what we're doing with our real estate Bitcoin fund. I don't want to jump to that too quick, but
we'll get to it. Don't worry.
Yeah. We're basically, I remember the first time I got in a Tesla, Archie, The guy didn't tell me about the Tesla. He drove up, picked me up in it, said, bro, you ready? I said, ready for what? And boom, he hit that accelerator. I'm like, wow, I've been in a lot of different cars, man. I had never had that experience. I'm like, this is a Tesla? People had explained it to me. They had talked about it. They had, told me about the electric, but there's nothing like the experience. Same thing for Bitcoin, by the way. Bitcoin is an experience. Real estate is an experience. Okay. Being Democrat or Republican is an experience. You're having experiences and you're being educated slowly over time as to what's good for you and what's not good for you. And so, that was my cherry was popped because we said yes to Bitcoin, and we still own that Bitcoin today, by the way.
Yeah.
Now I'll show you how conservative I am. We sold enough of the Bitcoin to pay for my expenses back. So that's how I watch every penny. Okay. And I'm proud to say I do that, but I'm sell enough of this stuff. You guys figure out. And we didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to get a wallet. We didn't know cold storage. I knew nothing, bro. I don't know how to sell it, where to sell it. I don't even know what it is. Okay. I'm not clear that I know what it is today, even though I got probably 3,000 pieces.
I think a lot of people felt that way. It was one of the reasons why I didn't get into Bitcoin when I first heard about it, is because of all the friction, the technical friction.
Yeah.
The wallet, the user interface of any kind of software or platform that I just it's just not worth it for me. And also, I should add that I had absolutely no grounding or framework to develop any kind of conviction about Bitcoin. And I'm talking 2011. Between 11 and 13 is kind of when I was just very casually talking about it every now and then. And I had no inclination of what it could become because I had no ideological framework. I had no economic understanding of which problems it solves. And I'm fascinated because you have, a very deep sales background. And I wanted to ask you about orange pilling, because if you were to put together, 5, 6, 7 step process to orange pill someone that Bitcoiners can learn from. You've mentioned a starting point, which is a fantastic starting point. Give someone some Bitcoin. 1,000 sats is barely $1 at the moment, right? So 10,000 sats is $10. I often start by giving people $5 of Bitcoin. I just say, download a wallet. Here's $5 of Bitcoin. And at least that plants the seed in somebody's mind that they now own some. And so when they see a headline or a price point, anything in the media, there's actually a bit of curiosity there. Where would you take it from there? How would you orange peel, or how would you sell Bitcoin to somebody as a Bitcoiner? Where would you start given your sales experience?
Yeah. So, to make a sale, you need a decision maker. Okay. Now, if you're trying to convince somebody of something, that's one thing. Right now, I'm trying to convince you that Madami is bad for New York City. All right. Okay, good. But there's nothing for him to do except agree with me or disagree with me. That's not what I'm talking about. This is where most Bitcoiners get stuck. You have to understand that selling is different than closing. Okay. When I'm trying to close somebody, I'm trying to get them to transfer something of value from them to me and from me back to them. The rest of it is just a conceptual conversation. I'm going to tell you about Bitcoin, why it's great, why fiat is being and the decentralization. I don't care, bro. There's nobody, 99% of population Earth is not waking up worried about the money supply. They're not waking up worried about money depreciating. None of this is all Bitcoiners talking to Bitcoiners. This is why churches don't grow. Churches don't grow because they talk to themselves rather than going out and getting other people into their church.
What are they worried about? How can Bitcoiners relate Bitcoin to the ordinary person's?
We're trying to impress everybody with how much you know. This is the car salesman. Oh, the air pressure is 42.5. I'm like, I don't care. Bro, I saw the car and I wanted to buy it. Why are you explaining it to me? Right? So again, like what would I do? I would get the ultimate is to have a vehicle to have people drop into, like the Tesla example. Quit explaining to people what something is and put them in a vehicle where they can actually have the experience. This is what we did with our real estate Bitcoin fund. I built it, I funded it, and then I invited people to invest in it. If you don't have a place for people to go, you're just having a conversation. When you said you give people a Bitcoin and then tell them to download a wallet, that's where you break the model. You need to download the wallet for them, bro. Asking me to download anything today. Let me just show you what I got on my phone right now.
No, it's literally what we do. I tell them to look it up in the App Store. We do it together.
Yeah. Apps like, dude, I deleted 4 pages of apps that I've never used. So asking, oh man, it's easy, man. Just download this. Bro, it ain't easy. Okay. Fuck, my life is overwhelmed with too many easy things I can't get to now. Kids, wife, travel, podcasts. Like, you're asking a guy to do something that he can't even manage his life. So you got to download the thing for him. You got to load the wallet for him if you really want him to get it. And back to your point, Archie, every time he gets news about Bitcoin, and maybe you need to turn his alerts on, Bitcoin alerts. Every time you hear this, bro, every time you hear Bitcoin, something Bitcoin, go back and look at that wallet and watch what it did without you doing anything, by the way. So look, this is no different than any other education. That's the other thing that Bitcoiners need to think about. And I think you get it. This is a sales game, but you have to have it. You have to be set up to where if I'm talking about this bottle of water right here, I need to have the water for them to actually take delivery of. And most of the time, these conversations are being had without me having an actual action I can take. So that's what we built. We took our real estate portfolio and added Bitcoin to it and basically just have a fund that people can drop into. And I've said this for years, okay? Anybody that's selling anything online, or you're promoting something online, or you're trying to get known online. I started in 2012, I started on Facebook. I did Facebook. The next day I started a YouTube channel. I had no followers. I was 55 years old at the time. I saw social media and I'm like, shit, dude, I'm going to kill this. I'm going to be able to talk to the entire world. One person at a time, 10 people at a time, 100 people at a time. And it cost me nothing to do it. But you have to build a following. Okay. So you go on there and you build a following and you start dropping content like what you're doing right now. What I found was if you just deliver content and never have a call to offer, a CTO, you never have something that they can exchange back with you, all you're doing is one-way flowing content. And you're doing a disservice to your audience.
Well, I heard you say this in another podcast, and I was curious about that because I don't sell anything. The only thing I have a call to action for is to just follow my other channels. So now that I'm growing this podcast channel, for example, that's the only thing I ask is that people just follow me there, and then through various partnerships that I don't even really look to maximize. So I'm probably doing a really bad job of commercializing this enterprise because I was just focusing on being of service to the community. Yeah.
So where is this going to be played?
YouTube, on X, and all the podcasting platforms.
Yeah. So if I'm on YouTube, okay, the last thing I want to ask somebody to do is say, hey, follow me on Instagram. It ain't going to work, dude. If you go back and look at your whatever you're doing to track, I'm not leaving YouTube to go to Instagram. Now, if I'm on Fox News and I say, follow me on X, okay, that'll work. Okay. If you ask somebody to follow you on X, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, if you ask them to do more than one thing, they will do nothing. And number two, on this commercialization thing, on this concept of you commercializing. Look, I go to YouTube. When I go to YouTube, YouTube is like YouTube is a place where I go there to get content, specific kinds of content. And when I get out of there, I might go to Instagram because now I want to be hit with a bunch of randomity, a bunch of crazy shit. Who knows what I'm going to get hit with? Then I go to TikTok because I want to see a bunch of even more insanity. But I'm the same person, but I'm moving around with a different intent.
Mm-hmm.
Go to church Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. I go for one thing. I'm the same guy, by the way. I leave church and I go to the golf course. Now I'm throwing down a tequila right before I hit the ball. Okay. Then that afternoon, I go to a football game to watch a football game with my guys. I'm kind of a different person again. And then I go home to be with my kids and I'm a father. See, I'm going to different places for different content, for different experiences. So one, I would tell you, like, you know, if you're distributing this on YouTube, it would be like, guys, make sure you have your notifications turned on here. Okay. Make sure you comment below because you want that interaction in YouTube. You don't want them going to another channel yet. But what you do want, okay, and the only thing you really want is you want them to come off of YouTube and get their email address because you want them to buy a product from you. And the reason you want to buy a product is not because you want to commercialize yourself, not because you want to make money, but because you want the consumer, the viewer, your fan, your follower, the person receiving information, you want them to be able to reciprocate to you so that you complete the cycle of the relationship. See, as long as you just give to a person and you're just flowing on them, they didn't get to complete the cycle of reciprocation with you. And until you complete that cycle of exchange, whether it's an email, which is valuable, by the way, okay, or the chance for them to win something, they don't have to buy anything, bro. That's inflow. Okay. Income, I-N-C-O-M-E. Income does not necessarily mean money. It could be income names. So like I have a list of 7 million people on my email list. All of it came off of social media. Okay. I'll probably lose 700,000 people a year, maybe 1 million for a year, 20% of that list, but I'll reinforce it with new followers. And, I'm just saying, if you're offering value, Archie, and you are, I mean, you get guests. You did a lot of work to get me on this show and other people. Then you do this. Your producer's suffering today. He's a good warrior. He's suffering. You got the lights up, the cameras, the recording. Then you got to throw it up on YouTube. You're going to have to edit it, create probably some inserts and graphics. Dude, you're providing tremendous value to the community. Okay. And the fact that you're just going to keep giving to me and never get from me. Okay. You're going to put me out exchange and I'm not going to like you for it.
What do you make of, I think what I've encountered, and it's really surprised me in an industry that's, I guess, Bitcoin is a kind of investment, and we're primarily concerned with, at the very minimum, preservation of our savings. And most people, let's face it, we want to be enriched through our holdings of Bitcoin, our investment of time and effort into Bitcoin. But there's such a strong resentment again amongst a very large cohort of people who are very vocal the moment you try to sell anything, regardless of its value proposition. Have you encountered that in the Bitcoin community, and what do you make of it? Because it's like the moment you want to charge for a premium newsletter, you're a grifter, for example. And it's like, where did this sort of anti-capitalistic, anti-economic mindset come from?
I don't know. That's their problem, dude. That's not my problem. Why am I going to respond to every insanity on the internet? Okay. Like, that's your issue. That's not mine. Like, I don't, Cardone's shilling his deal. He's shilling his deal. I hear that word all the time here. Okay. Yeah. And I put together a $330 million real estate Bitcoin fund. I want you to invest in it. It's going to be good for you. Okay. You're shilling. And you ain't shilling, bro, because you ain't put anything together yet. So it's not even personal. By the way, it's not a Bitcoin thing. This is everyone everywhere. Oh, Cardone's selling something. You're always selling something. Yes, I am. I'm always selling something. And I'm sorry that you're not always selling something. I'm sorry that you don't have products and services that you feel good enough about to tell people about. Your bad or my bad? I don't know. Apple's always selling. Wells Fargo's always selling. JP Morgan's always selling. Coca-Cola's always selling. General Electric, you name it. Boeing, United Airlines, American Airlines, all the great companies are always selling. And the fact that you're not is your freaking confusion, not mine. I'm not going to respond to this. Okay. So good. Even better. You're not selling. I am. I'm open for business and you're not.
Be proud of the value that you provide and don't be ashamed of charging for it then.
Dude, the only people that complain are the people that don't buy. Okay? Like we get this many complaints from this year I'll do business. In my education business, we'll do a business with 55,000 people. Will give me money. In my health company, 255,000 people a month buy a product from us at 10X Health System. That's 400,000 people right there. 14,000. I have 20,000 investors at Cardone Capital that have given me $500,000 or more, $1.8 billion. So what is that? I have 15,000 companies that buy consulting from us every year. So whatever that number is, those total numbers, the only people that we get complaints from, it's not the buyers. It's the non-buyers. It's the people that didn't buy, not the people that did. And in many cases, it's not even the buyers and non-buyers. It's the spectators watching from the outside. So it is what it is, bro. Like, that's what makes this world so interesting. There's people that do, and there's people that watch, and the people that watch, tell the players what they should have done differently.
Yeah, I mean, when I started this account, for example, as a means of just staying ultra focused on growing the brand and the account, I just put aside all potential opportunities for commercialization purely as a result of that. And honestly, I just haven't thought of a way yet to develop a product that could commercialize this. And so I'm continuing on the merry path of offering free content and then embedding that with some brand partnerships.
Again, I know you're thinking now. You're rethinking your situation right now. Why don't you just ask? Don't even have a product. Why don't you just ask people to contribute with a subscription?
I have that switched on X, and I just don't push that. I don't feel comfortable asking for contributions like that. I feel like their following is reciprocation.
You're doing your. There's some people in your community that want to support you. And the fact that you don't feel comfortable is your problem. Like I come into your house, you invite me to a party and I bring a bottle and I'm like, bro, here's a gift. And you're like, no, I can't take that.
Oh, no.
Like, what do you do?
The way I look at it is different. It would be like if I invited you to my house and I said, but only if you bring a bottle. And I would never do that.
Yeah. But again, like,
have I got it wrong? Flip my perspective around, make me, because I'm open to what you're saying. I'm just not there yet.
You invite me to your house and you want nothing and I bring a bottle. Will you take it?
Yeah, I would absolutely accept that. Yes.
Good. So you put on your X, hey man, have a subscription, sub account, whatever. And or on YouTube, you can donate to this Cash App. Okay. Do you have Cash App?
No, I don't. I don't do that either.
Bro, why don't you send me, you own Bitcoin?
I do own Bitcoin. Yeah.
Why don't you send me 100,000 Satoshi for me being your guest?
Sure.
Good. I'll take it.
Okay.
Like, do you feel bad about that? Or would you actually like the fact that you gave me, once you make it 1 million Satoshis?
As a point of principle, I'd never pay for a guest to come on. But if you insisted
you're
on
not paying me to be here, you're giving me a gift. You're giving me a gift, not paying me to be here. Like it's content, bro. I gave Grant Cardone 1 million Satoshi. Or join the show. It's a gimmick, dude.
Yeah, I get it.
Reframe what it is for you, right? But look, it takes money to live on this planet. Your show costs money to put on. Your time is worth something.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'm not objecting to you. I'm just running through the mental processes and the reasons I've built up in my mind about doing this the way I'm doing it is Bitcoin Archive. I wanted to make Bitcoin news and content available to as many people as possible. That's been my guiding principle. And I feel like at the moment, if I did offer a premium product or a service, that it would have to be something that I felt confident in delivering the value required for the price.
Of course.
Yeah. Because it is a departure from that principle in some ways.
Yeah, but that's a given. That's a given. Yeah. You're a good dude. You're a good guy. You're not a criminal. You're not a thief. You're not a con man. Look, I have 20 million followers online. We sell $150 million worth of products a year. Okay. I have 20 million followers. That means they don't all pay me, by the way. Only 1% of them pay me. Only 155,000 out of 20 million people pay me.
That's amazing, actually. As a conversion of your social media following, 1% is a pretty amazing conversion rate.
Now, is it? Let me see. 155,000 divided by 20 million people. That's the followers. That's not my conversion.
Yeah.
That's what that is. That's terrible, dude. You're talking
just
about
under 1%. Or is it 0.1%? 0.1%.
Yeah. 0.007.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. But 150 million people see my material.
I see.
So just because, by the way, the best people are not the followers. It's the non-followers and the anonymous followers. They don't ever hit the follow. Okay. So I'll have 150 million people see my material this year divided by 150. That's what buys anything from me. 0.1%. Nobody buys anything from me. Okay. But there's a 0.001% that want to buy, that want to support me, that want to give me money, that want more than just what I gave for free. I'm just telling you, dude, I do this for a living.
Yeah.
And by the way, I have more followers than most people. Now let's say I'm a comedian or I'm a rapper or I'm a movie star.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm a big movie star, but I don't have any products. Look at The Rock. Look at Rock and Kevin Hart. Look how much money they have made because now they don't just have a following and they don't just have a movie, but they also have products that they can promote. Now I can be more aligned with them because I drink their alcohol or whatever, or buy their shoes or whatever the deal is, dude. Like you're actually making a fan base by building customers. Anyway, just a different way to think about it, bro.
No, it absolutely you make total sense. It's reconciling that with the principles I've used to build up the account and how I actually move forward to commercialize it without by still staying true to those principles. And yeah, at the end of the day, if I'm giving value, I think I can be proud of charging whatever price my customers are willing to pay.
Yeah.
That's really thought-provoking. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, hey, but just ask your audience. Ask your audience right now. Should Archie, would you guys have a problem with Archie offering a product? And what product would you want him to offer? So you would answer, no, I don't have a problem with Archie offering a product. And the product I would like to see Archie deliver to me that I'd be willing to pay for is whatever.
Sure.
Throw it down in the comments.
Yeah.
And maybe make another comment about, again, I'm using this now to get interaction. Okay. Interaction is income, by the way. Okay. Money's not the only tool, bro. Like the fact that somebody would throw a comment, look how few people comment on anything.
Mm-hmm.
Cause you're not asking them to. Okay. You got to ask them, bro. People only do what you tell them to do. If you don't, most people don't even want to be known that they're online watching.
Yeah, you mentioned that before. Some of the most valuable people are not even your followers. And how did you come across that insight?
Well, because we found people like Wall Street bankers following my content, and we can't find them anywhere in our followers. I'm like, bro, how's this guy? Had 2 drinks with the guy, and he's like, bro, I love what you're doing with your kids and your wife. I said, what are you doing? Okay. I saw your Instagram. Oh yeah. Now I know. We go in there and try to find him. We can't find him. He doesn't follow my Instagram unless it's under some other name. Okay. Like this has happened to me 100 times. Yesterday, somebody from the Trump administration hit me. There's this guy that was talking shit about me and my religion, asked me to speak at his event. I found out he was a religious bigot.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
This guy's a Muslim that is actively practicing religious bigotry in America today. Personally experienced it. I decided not to show up at his event and speak. He made a big deal about it at the event that I didn't come, suggesting again some weird bullshit. And so I posted something online saying this guy is practicing. Him and his organization are practicing. Amir Karangi is his name, and the real deal are real religious bigots. That's what I'm telling you right now. Practicing religious intolerance and prejudice in a country in 2025 when, nobody should do that, much less a Muslim living in America. Come on, keep it real.
Why did he do that, given he knows you?
Anyway, I posted this to hit back at this guy, and somebody close to the Trump administration wrote me and said, good for you. That guy's a clown, and I'm glad you called him out. We support you from DC.
Good. Yeah, good for you. Nobody should stand for any kind of discrimination. Stand up for yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
So, we're talking about Bitcoin, real estate, and the merging those together. As you've alluded to, you've raised a fund that's really quite an innovative fund in blending both Bitcoin with a real estate investment fund. It sounds incredible and could be quite a profound change to the real estate industry. Can you tell us what was the inspiration for that? Because you mentioned earlier that you're always looking to juice up your returns, how to increase the returns on your portfolio, and there's only so much you can do with a piece of property because at the end of the day, you're still beholden to its location. You can't do much more than that. Talk us through your thought process and how you came to merge the two together, because real estate is only probably second. Real estate investors are probably only second to gold investors as being kind of resistant to Bitcoin in my personal experience. So I find your receptivity to Bitcoin has just been, and almost a wholehearted embrace of Bitcoin is fantastic for the industry, and I think we'll see more of that. So can you talk us a bit through your thought process and how you came to the conclusion that merging those two will be a powerful force?
Yeah, so I was in a room on Spaces on X, maybe 2.5 years ago, and it was a debate. I was invited to be part of the debate, and the debate was, what's better, real estate or Bitcoin? And I got off the debate and asked the question, well, why not have both? And then somebody's like, oh yeah, put real estate on the blockchain. Well, the blockchain's not ready for real estate to be on it, and there's no real value in doing that today. And then I went and met with Mike Saylor, and I said, Mike, I want to know, man, I got a big audience. He's like, I know about your audience. I know what you do. He's like, you are perfect. You should be doing exactly what I'm doing. You have a big audience. You have a tremendous amount of trust. You're an authority with the audience that follows you. You have altitude with that audience. You already have a company that's working. It's cash flowing. And he's like, you should take your company public and build a real estate Bitcoin treasury. I said, well, I'm not a public company, Mike. And he's like, well, that's your problem. I'm telling you what to do. So he threw me out of his house, kind of like, Mike's a great guy, right? I love what Mike's doing. And so I went home and I said, okay, I'm not a public company. That's going to take 15 months. I'm not going to wait 15 months. This was January this year, 2025. And we created a real estate Bitcoin fund. It was a property in Melbourne, Florida, a $72 million property that we bought. The property was worth $87 million. We stole the asset $15 million below replacement costs. And rather than buying it for 72 and just closing the deal, we took the 72 and added enough Bitcoin to get back to the replacement cost, the 88 with the closing costs. So we went from 72 for the property. I wrote a check for that. wrote another check for $15 million of Bitcoin, put them in the same LLC, fused the two properties together, for lack of better words, and then allowed our investors to come in at that price. And we experimented with it. We just basically built a vehicle and said, hey, would people want to ride in this vehicle? Rather than explaining to people or doing a poll or a survey or would you do this, I built it because I thought it was a cool deal. I said, okay, I have the stability of real estate. If I grow the real estate by 5% NOI, the NOI is the net operating income of the real estate. If I can grow that 3 to 5% a year, I can take it from 72 to 88 million. I paid 72. I get it to 88 million. That means I make $16 million. That's a 20% return. No big deal. That's just cash flow. And I'll be able to sell the real estate for maybe 100 million. We make $30 million on the property. We make 50% over 5 years. That's 16% a year. That's a decent return on a piece of real estate. But if I had the Bitcoin to it, I still have $72 million of real estate, but I got this little thing sitting on top of it called Bitcoin that's going to do its little butterfly, hummingbird, possibly soar like an eagle thing. I don't know which one it's going to do. It could be a robin or one of those little fat robins during the spring months and get shot and killed, for what I know. Or it could be an eagle and soar. But I have my real estate. If it doesn't soar, I still have my real estate. If it's just a little hummingbird and just fluts around, jumps around and makes a bunch of noise, well, shit, makes the real estate look better. And if it dies, I didn't lose anything because I still have my real estate. Well, that fund that we did that in January, that fund today is worth, what we thought it would be worth in 5 years. And Bitcoin hadn't done anything this year, by the way. It's just gone sideways since we bought it. But the fund is probably worth, let's see, I paid 72. I got 88 in the deal. Yeah, it's probably worth 100 million right now. So we're up 12 million in 1 year, which is a tremendous return for a piece of real estate. So that's how I kind of got into the deal, dude. This is what I do. Like if you came to me with a great idea and said, you want to partner with me? I'd be like, well, let's partner. I'm not going to tell my audience until we partner. Okay. It's going to be organic for me. It has to be organic. Okay. Like I'm not going to go tell people about Meta glasses until somebody gave me the Meta glasses. Some guy gave me Meta glasses last week. Okay. Hey, Meta, take a picture of Archie. Boom. I just took a picture of you, right? Now that's organic. I'm not being paid to do that, by the way. It's organic. It's natural. And you can tell it in the pitch. You can feel it. Okay. The audience can feel the pitch. It's organic because it's built. So that's what I did. I don't try to sell something, right? I just show people what I'm doing and say, hey, I did this. Would you like to be invested?
So who did you reach out to with your first fund, that first property that you infused with Bitcoin, as you put it? Who did you reach out to, and what was the reaction like?
Yeah, great question. We reached out to the same people that have invested in all of our other projects and say, hey guys, I want to give you first chance at this. I just did a real estate Bitcoin fund. I funded the whole thing. I funded it, closed it. That demonstrates a tremendous amount of confidence. And, well, what is it, Grant? It's a piece of real estate, dude. It's a real estate deal. I showed him the real estate. I spent 90% of the time talking about the real estate. 300 units, Elon Musk's backyard. I could see SpaceX launch rockets from there. It's brand new. It was 88 million. I bought it for 72, stole it.
So that sounds like a good deal in and of itself, just as a real estate deal by itself. When you added that Bitcoin, did that add any kind of uncertainty in the minds of people who were not aware of what Bitcoin is?
Yeah. And that's what I'm going through. See, I'm spending all my time talking about the thing they understand. I don't spend any time talking about the thing they don't understand. 99% of planet Earth understands real estate. They live in it. They use it. They work in it. They sleep in it. They own it. Okay. Nobody understands Bitcoin. Not the Bitcoiners don't even understand. You hear Bitcoiners arguing about it. So I don't spend a bunch of my time talking about, I'm not orange pilling anybody, bro. I'm not educating anybody. I don't require anybody to read the Bitcoin standard. Nobody needs to know who Mike Saylor is or Satoshi, because then you get into all the problems. Oh, who's Satoshi? Why is he a mystery? I don't run into any of that bullshit. I say, oh, by the way, guys, I want you to know in this real estate transaction, we added $15 million worth of Bitcoin. The real estate and the Bitcoin are going to cash flow at 5% a year, or you can be involved just in the real estate. What's the return on that? 5%. With the Bitcoin, it's 5%. Without the Bitcoin, it's 5%. Do you want exposure to the Bitcoin? It costs you nothing extra. Oh, sure, man. I'll take the lottery ticket.
It sounds like a tremendously successful proof of concept. Is that effectively what you used at?
We had 500 people. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We had 500 people invest with us. 400 had zero exposure to Bitcoin. 500 people invested in the project. 400 never bought Bitcoin, owned nothing. 250 people of the 500 had never invested in a real estate project with me and found this to be more compelling with the Bitcoin than without it.
What was their thought process? What convinced them?
I had a guy that has known me for 20 years, trusts me like a brother. I mean, this guy would, if he's worth, this guy's worth, today's worth, I don't know. Bob's probably worth $12 billion this week. He's never invested any money with me. He saw the deal. He's like, I'll give you 15 million. Put 15 and go do 10 of these, by the way, Grant. Don't do one of them and take them public. So I said, Bob, why did you do this? He says, cause this is sexy, man. This is sexier than what you've been doing. What you're doing is boring. He's like, it's conservative, boring. It doesn't change. This is new. It's a new beast. It's an animal. It's like you created something. And I just want to acknowledge you for creating something, simple. It's so simple. Number one, he's like, it's simple. 2, you did it. 3, I said, how much Bitcoin do you own, Bob? None. He's like, man, I miss the Bitcoin. I listened to Jamie Dimon shit on Bitcoin and Warren Buffett shit on Bitcoin and I didn't do it. And now you're giving me a way to do it. And by the way, if the Bitcoin goes to 0, I don't feel like I lost anything because I still have the real estate. Mm. So that's what we did, dude. We've done 10 of these this year.
10 of a similar size or just 10 deals? 10
deals, similar size. The one we're doing right now is 330 million. It's 5 times bigger, 4 times bigger than the first one we did.
And who are you pitching those to? I mean, I know you've already got a vast network of investors and people you can market to. Are you going through institutions or predominantly through your investor network?
I've never taken any money from an institution. I've never raised any money from J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Cantor Fitzgerald, KKR, none of the sovereign funds. I don't get money from churches. I get money from regular people that want to invest in it, like you. Be like, dude, I'll put 200 grand in that deal. We think 200 grand on that deal, in our current deal, 200 grand could be $600,000 to $800,000 in the next 5 years. It could be a 4x return. And we have what? We have the Bitcoin, we have the real estate, we have the cash flow, we have the cheapest debt you can put on anything today is still on real estate. Long-term cheap debt. We have depreciation that comes with the real estate. We have the real rent. We have 336 customers paying us every month to live someplace. We have a real utility. You know, a lot of people question, what's the utility? The real utility of Bitcoin, what is it? Forget it, dude. I got renters. Okay. I got 336 people paying me $4,500 a month. The average tenant in our building makes 500 grand a year. We have tenants in the building that invested in the fund. I said, you guys can live here or you can invest here or you could do both here. Okay. So it's just it's a beautiful, you're taking something that's very real. The property takes up an entire block in Boca Raton. It's a $230 million building that should have sold for $350. We bought it out of bankruptcy. I paid cash for the asset, and then I stacked a bunch of Bitcoin on it.
And so what are you doing with the income that's generated from these properties? Are you diving those back, putting them straight back into Bitcoin?
Yeah, it does $10 million of NOI, and every month we add Bitcoin to the treasury.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, dude. Okay, we're taking the cash flow. By the way, the purchase came with $50 million worth of depreciation. So all our investors that get exposure to the real estate and the Bitcoin also get the biggest tax deduction they will get in their lifetime, called accelerated depreciation.
So these funds, they're being set up purely with investors' funds. There's no debt being laid onto it.
This deal we closed on my balance sheet, and then we put a Fannie Mae. We put some bridge debt on it that's going to be replaced by a Fannie Mae loan for $140,000. So we'll have three slices here: $140,000 of Fannie Mae debt, $100,000 of equity, $100,000 of Bitcoin. The investors come in, we drop all of it into this pool, okay, right here. It sits in an LLC. The investors are now getting shares, membership shares of the LLC. And you have exposure to each one of these three items, your percentage. So if there was 100 people, we'd each have 1% in it. And, the goal is the worst case is I just keep the asset together. The Bitcoin explodes, goes to $1 million. We sell off the Bitcoin. It's got 833 pieces of Bitcoin in that fund. In that one fund, I have 10 of these different sizes. The first one had 150 pieces. The Melbourne deal had 150 pieces, and we added something every month. So now we have 175 pieces the first year. This deal we started with 833 pieces, and every month we'll add a few pieces. Sits in here. Let's say the Bitcoin explodes, goes to $1 million by the end of the year. Boom, we sell off the Bitcoin, pick up $833 million, and we still own this beautiful asset that's worth $350 million. So I get a chance to have two scores.
It sounds like, you've kicked off something that could scale almost infinitely because, real estate is the world, right? Do you see this as a potential to become like the strategy version in the real estate market? Because you've got a real asset to actually work with in addition with the Bitcoin, plus your cash flow, similar to what Michael's got with his business intelligence operating business as well. Have you had a look at his model, his corporate finance model, how he's structured all the securities, and whether or not there's an opportunity for you to expand that and potentially open that up to institutional investors as well to take it to scale?
Yeah, 100%. We're looking at. We'll take this public. So I was in Texas this week looking at putting. We have 47 funds, about $5 billion worth of real estate, $5.2 billion with $2.2 billion of debt. There's $3 billion of equity. We're trying to figure out how to take that, move all of it onto the blockchain so that our investors could have coins that could trade. I'm not confident in that model yet, and I won't do it until I'm confident. And I'll probably do it on a deal where I'm the majority or only investor. But certainly we're looking at what Michael's doing. I think we're going to end up with much cheaper debt in the future than the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loans. I met with Fannie and Freddie and talked to them about adding Bitcoin to a loan and what that would do or even a CMBS loan, what that would do for the lender to have liquidity. So if we had a 5 or 6 or 7 year loan, to have part of that be Bitcoin. Imagine I just took a $230 million deal that has $140 million worth of debt. So I have $90 million of equity. On top of it, I have another $100 million of Bitcoin. Okay. Now the equity portion of the real estate is going to go up slightly every year. This thing could just explode. It could go down, but it could explode. Either way, it's paid for. There's just tremendous amounts of liquidity. What I did was I took a real estate deal. If the bottle's the real estate, it's very illiquid. You can't move it. It's just heavy. Okay. And it's not liquid. If I wanted to sell that asset, it would probably take me 6 or 9 months. So it's not liquid, but I added this Bitcoin Starbucks, the Bitcoins over here. This thing's liquid 24/7. And I stack these two together. Okay. I never have a liquidity problem ever. And this is the problem with real estate. Real estate is never a problem until the debt market becomes problematic. Real estate, if the debt markets were never problematic, you would never, ever, ever have a real estate problem. Every real estate crash in the history of the world has been tied to bad debt. And so when you add the two together and I blend the two together, potentially I would never have a debt problem. And if I never have a debt problem, I never lose my real estate. You know, there's a story about Donald Trump. Donald Trump owned the Plaza Hotel. The Plaza Hotel is unquestionably one of the top 20 locations on the planet, maybe top 10. In the 90s, he put too much debt on it. Interest rates exploded. They took the Plaza back from him. Okay. If he'd have had Bitcoin, even a tiny percent, I think he paid $250 million for the Plaza. If he had even $12 million of Bitcoin, I know I'm going back before Bitcoin, but even if he had a tiny bit in the last, let's pretend it was the last, 13 years? Dude, if you had a tiny bit over the last 13 years, you would have never had a debt problem. In 2000, let's see how long we've been in Bitcoin. Yeah. You follow what I'm saying. If I had a tiny bit,
it would have
you would never, let's say I needed a new roof on my project. Okay. Let's say I buy my project in Boca Raton, which is a massive asset. And no matter how good that asset is, let's say in 5 years, the loan is due. I'm borrowing money at 5% right now. Cheap money. And because it's a piece of real estate for 5 years with Fannie Mae. Let's say in year 5, when the loan's due, interest rates have exploded to 10%. I'm like, shit, I can't get a $140 million loan on my asset anymore because rates went up double. So they're only going to give me like maybe $100 million. So I got to pay my debt down $40 million. You follow me? It was 140. They're going to be like, interest rates exploded. So you got to pay it down so that it supports the 10% money, not the 5% money. Well, guess what? I have Bitcoin. I bought Bitcoin on this deal. We bought it average prices around 100 or below. We got some orders in for 94 right now. 5 years from now, where do you think Bitcoin will be 5 years from now?
Yeah, it's anyone's guess, but it's going to be much higher. That's for sure. I'm 99% certain of that.
Give me a number. Give me what you think.
In 5 years, upwards of 400,000. Yeah.
Audience, get your audience to put in what they
go and comment below and let us know what you think the price will be in 5 years.
So if I use your number, okay, remember I got a $40 million debt problem. I got to pay it down $40 million. I don't want to lose the asset the way Donald Trump lost the Plaza. My Bitcoin's worth $353 million.
Yeah.
There's my 40 million. So I'd sell $40 million of Bitcoin. I still own $290 million of Bitcoin. And I keep my real estate and I pay down my debt and nobody loses anything because the last thing you want to do, dude, is lose.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely juices up the returns because it's just it's appreciating at an accelerated rate. And so if you can partner the two together like you're doing, it opens up all sorts of financing opportunities. I'm interested in your discussion with Fannie Mae and what their reaction was to the potential to finance with Bitcoin, because this has been a bugbear of mine. I raised it in my discussions with I presume is a friend of yours, Mark Moss, and we had a really interesting conversation about what I thought the price of a Bitcoin-backed loan should be versus what he thinks it should be. What was the reaction from Fannie Mae, and what do you think is going to be the future of Bitcoin-backed loans with respect to mortgages?
Yeah, I don't think, the good news is for the entrepreneurs out there, I don't think Fannie and Freddie are the first ones to move on this. I think entrepreneurs will do this before they do. The reason, and it's not a knock against Fannie and Freddie. They're 12, they're doing $12 trillion of loans the old fashioned way. They don't need to investigate new things. And this is why markets get disrupted, is because, you know, rich white old guys don't change. And this is the beautiful thing about the real estate business. Real estate in America is owned by a bunch of old white rich guys that don't change. And I happen to be one of those guys, but I'm willing to change. So any entrepreneurs out there that are willing to look for new things, new ways to disrupt an industry, disruption is not, the point of disruption is not for me to somehow solve every problem in the world. It's for me to create a new industry and new opportunities and new investments. I'm not trying to solve like the Bitcoiners. The Bitcoiners get lost in their the story, man, like fiat and decentralization and war, and this is going to somehow resolve every problem on the planet, and you guys are the Mother Teresas of the universe, and you're the saviors. And
Let me pick up on that, because do you think Bitcoin ideology is creating blind spots?
Yes.
With respect to opportunities? People are sort of boxing themselves in and, preoccupying themselves with dogma and ideology and purity, and unable to see the opportunities, for example, the types of which you're crafting, and Michael Saylor, for example, in the corporate debt market as well.
Yeah. The people that are this dogma, this dedication to dogma, and Bitcoin is the solution for all problems in the world, it makes you sound like a bunch of crazy people. It sounds like Kamala and her word salads. I forget that line she did that everybody made fun of her for, but I mean, you just going around in circles talking about
that's every time she speaks.
Yeah, exactly. But there was one thing she said over and over.
Yeah.
That I don't know. There was one line that Kamala said over and over that was like everybody made fun of her. But yeah, dude, I think the dogma, the idea that Bitcoin, me and my brother have had this conversation many times, that the US dollar is going away. It's complete nonsense, dude. The US dollar is not going anyplace. Now you could argue with me about it, but I think it's 81% of all the dollars traded on planet Earth are US dollars, like some absurd number. It's ridiculous. You're not getting rid of it. For what? Rubles? You're not getting rid of it. We have the largest military on planet Earth. There's going to be no B.R.I.C.S.
You don't think the rise of B.R.I.C.S is going to be a formidable option for the rest of the world, at least in the developing world?
I've heard about B.R.I.C.S for at least 15 years. I've heard about North Korea going nuclear for the last 20 years. Every 2 years, he does his little, I'm going nuclear. We're the only Navy on planet Earth that can sail all 7 seas. China cannot even get south of Taiwan. China's Navy cannot reach any blue water on planet Earth. We're not backed by, look, we're backed by a military, bro. The greatest military on planet Earth. So there's nobody fooling with the US dollar, and it's infiltrated into the entire financial system. So this fear mongering, when the Bitcoin community is talking to the fiat, the people that have lived off of fiat for 50 or 60 or 70 years, and you're talking to my friend Bob Duggan, who's worth $12 billion, and saying, Bob, you got to buy Bitcoin. Bob, you got to buy Bitcoin. The US dollar is going to hell. Oh my God, Bob, you got to get in now. Blah, da, da. This is going to, he's like, bro, what's wrong with you? You're telling me the $12 billion that I have is no good. He didn't want to believe that, man.
I have a very contrarian view of what's going to happen with fiat currencies compared to most Bitcoiners, but perhaps that's a conversation for another time. What are your plans with this listed entity? Are you able to talk about that? Because I know there are all sorts of regulatory stipulations for anyone bringing any kind of vehicle to market.
I can still talk about all of it.
Tell me. What are your plans?
There's always a way to talk about anything, even when they say you can't talk about it. There's always a way to talk about it.
Let's do that then.
So, we're looking for ways. For the past 21 weeks, we've met with JP Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, Cantor Fitzgerald. We've met with some of the largest, Clear Street.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are all playing in the space. I got a meeting with Cantor Monday. I'm flying to Cayman Islands to talk to a family office tomorrow. I was with a big bank in Texas. They've got $30 billion. Like, everybody wants to take this idea that I'm doing, these 10 entities that we have accumulated and aggregated with Bitcoin. We probably onboarded 1,100 investors that didn't have Bitcoin this year into our funds.
So what are you discussing with these people? Is it to fund your new entity, or are they looking to grant? How did you do that? Because we could do that too.
Yeah. Well, I met with Cantor Fitzgerald. The first meeting we had was with Cantor, and that's Howard Lutnick's company, right?
Yeah. And they've got a $2 billion fund to issue Bitcoin-backed loans for real estate, or is it just in general?
Well, when I was with these guys back in March, I said, guys, I showed them the deal, and they're like, this is amazing, man. This is phenomenal, blah, blah, blah. And I said, great, but here's the deal. Like, this is understanding salesmanship, right? I said, this is the deal, guys. Howard's over in DC right now. You guys going to pitch this to Howard. And the first thing Howard's going to say, I've met Howard a couple of times, but I don't intimately know him. I said, the first thing Howard's going to say, and I'm telling the team, I'm telling Howard's team, is, why aren't we doing it? And they all looked at me and said, exactly what he's going to say. He's like, they said, how did you know that? I said, because if I was Howard, that's what I would say. And the importance of that is understanding your client, right? The guy that wasn't there is the client. He's the decision maker I talked about earlier. If you don't have a decision maker, you're not going to make a sale. And they said, that's exactly right. I said, well, what's Howard going to say, guys? He's going to say, why aren't we doing it? And then what are you going to say? And I said, you guys are going to say, because you got your hands in too many other things already, legacy projects that have your freaking hands. Like, you're already wrapped up in so much bullshit. It's unbelievable. My point is this. The competition is almost eliminated because of three reasons. In this case, they already have their hands in a lot of projects. And the higher you go up the food chain, okay, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, dude, they already make. JP Morgan is a $4 trillion bank. Okay, I think it's 4 trillion, it might be more than that. Merrill Lynch is 8 trillion. Fidelity, like just go on and on, right? These are massive companies that are already successful. So the things they're doing already, the projects they're in already, can keep them from doing new projects. Similar to what I said about Fannie and Freddie. Number two is, this real estate Bitcoin project, you can't just go out and get real estate. You can't just, I'm going to go buy a trophy piece of real estate in Boca Raton. No matter how much money you have. My friend Bob Duggan that's got, 12 times more money than I have, he can't just go buy that deal just because he's got money.
Why not?
I bought because you need a relationship. You need to be in the funnel. You have to be in the boat. You have to have a line in the water to the real estate. You got to be, you got to be there. You can't just have money and show up with money. Michael Dell could have bought that piece of real estate, but he was blocked out. Blackstone owned that deal that I took out of bankruptcy. Blackstone has 100x more money than I have, 1,000x more money. But I bought it from them because they were the lender and couldn't be the buyer, and I blocked them out in bankruptcy. So I'm just saying the entrepreneur can beat the big guys. I move faster. I'm more creative. The third reason, the big banks and the REITs are a big competitor to me, right? Starwood is a massive competitor.
Just for our audience, they're real estate investment trusts. Is that right?
Yeah. They cannot by law or regulation or via their operating agreements ever own Bitcoin. They can, in fact, keep cash on their accounts. They have to distribute 90% of their cash. So when we put this real estate Bitcoin fund together, what I did was I went and basically studied my REIT. My REIT is the competition. The REITs and the big banks are my competition. So, or they're going to help me, one of the two. Your competitor can help you. Okay. So my biggest competitor is the REITs. They have to distribute all their cash. 90% of their cash has to be distributed, and they can never own Bitcoin. So when I joined the two together, I cut off distributions. We used distributions to add Bitcoin. We put the two together. I just took 190 companies out of play, and I create a new entity that has $4 trillion of assets under management. And the banks see this new combination. They see this new combination as a new piece of machinery. I just need to validate and prove it out.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm telling you. The banks are all looking at this as like, dude, you have an indestructible business. You're first to the marketplace. You can scale this. Okay. You have trophy real estate. This isn't shit real estate. When my team sends you some of the stuff we're buying, these are best in class trophy assets, institutional owned, cash flow positive day one. We don't have any building risk. And we've accumulated almost 3,000 Bitcoin in 10 months. We're not a treasury company. We're not one of these treasury companies that doesn't have products and doesn't have accounts receivables and doesn't have cash flow. Dude, we got cash flow. I got real cash flow coming. I don't have pretend cash flow. And I've been running this business for 30 years. I'm not new to running business. You got a lot of people dropping into these DATs, never run anything. Just because you're a crypto cowboy doesn't mean you can run a company. So, you know, we got a lot of people very, very interested in this. Now we got to figure out how to bring it to the marketplace and how we want to go public. It's not if, it's when and how.
Yeah, I mean, I look at what Saylor's achieved with his company over 5 years now, and it's been a phenomenal success without a doubt. And I look at your business model and like, why can't you guys absorb tens of billions of dollars in funds and sweep up the best commercial real estate properties around, and then augment them with Bitcoin purchases as well? I could easily see. I mean, that's infinitely scalable. How big's your target addressable market there? Is it a couple $100 trillion in the world?
Well, if I get just the REIT, if I get 5% of the REIT business, I'm $200 billion.
Yeah. How? Let's say that you got all the green lights. You got all the green lights to do that. How many years will it take you to scale up to that? Do you think? Because you can't do it all at once, obviously, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, maybe.
Surprise us all, Grant. But I mean, honestly, like when I look at what Michael's done, it did take them, I guess, 3 or 4 years to get through the bear market. But the last 18 months has been a massive step change, acceleration in their business model.
The first target's $50 billion. So we're at $5 billion right now. The first target is $50 billion. That could be done a number of different ways. And, it's not that complicated as long as I don't complicate it. Unfortunately, the lenders tend to complicate everything. And they're not that bright. No offense to the lenders, the banks out there. The banks are not that bright, which is very disappointing to me. Was shocked to find out that they don't have all the answers. They're not the entrepreneur. See, but how many of these can I buy?
So what's the risk for you, Grant? Is it that you've got to maintain your quality standards in selecting property?
Yeah. Can you see this right now?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can see a diagram of a building. Yeah.
So see, the question is, how many of these can I do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's an endless availability of these products. Now, if I was willing to drop the quality of the asset down, I'd even have more. This is 366 units in Boca Raton, as good a location as you can possibly get. If I was willing to compromise some of that, it would get even easier. But if I can go public with it, okay, like we did it with this deal. This is a deal that we had a debt problem on. We paid the debt off and had our audience fund this. It was $15 million of real estate, $15 million of Bitcoin, and $100 million of debt, of good debt. We have these 6 deals that we're working on right now that were paid for in cash. So we have this deal in Chicago. This is 800 units in Chicago where the owners are about $80 million below replacement costs and want to get rid of it. They don't want to sell it, but they would probably donate it to my publicly traded company. Here's another deal in Chicago. I mean, it's an endless list of trophy assets that the owners don't want to sell because the market's not conducive to the price, but they would donate it to my publicly traded entity, no tax event, and they would get liquidity with shares so that they could actually get the liquidity they want. Also consider that we build this vehicle. When we build this vehicle right, we would basically have an Up-C corporation sitting on top and an operating company sitting below, that so people could actually donate their Bitcoin, not pay taxes, donate their Bitcoin to this entity. We would bring that public. The company's stock price should go up, and that would provide that Bitcoin holder now with cash flow,
Mm-hmm.
tax write-offs, liquidity if they want to sell shares or borrow against their shares, but they would get the lift and the benefit of both. Look, the Bitcoin's worth what today? 104,000?
103, yeah. It's
My real estate's worth.
Yeah.
Exactly. So whatever they're worth, that's what the marketplace, my real estate's worth this and the Bitcoin's worth this. But when I fuse the two together, and now I have a story and I can keep adding real estate and Bitcoin and real estate and Bitcoin and cash flow, and my cash flow grows, then the two together should as a stock become worth more than if they were separated. Again, this is a real company. This is not the empty treasury. And I hope all those guys make it, but you and I both know there's going to be some failures in the data industry.
I think we're seeing some of them tremble a little bit at the moment, actually. So
maybe some of those guys throw in here. Maybe those guys say, "Hey, you have cash flow, you have an operating entity, you actually know how to run a business. We have 2,000 employees across 5 different companies right now. Why don't I donate my DAT that's trading below market? I'll donate it." Okay. And literally because the guy running the company right now is getting his head ripped off by his investors and the marketplace and the headlines. I'll donate my Bitcoin. We're trading below market and we have no exit and we have no strategy. How about I donate the asset to you, or you fold up into this company and you run it? We'll immediately get a bump. Now we have a plan, strategy.
Grant, here's an idea for you. There are some mining companies who are just sitting on Bitcoin that's dormant and not being put to use. Have you had conversations with those people to potentially partner up, since they're just sitting there? They're not really doing anything with it, maybe waiting for a bear market to liquidate.
Yeah, I like that.
tens of thousands of Bitcoin just sitting there doing nothing.
I had Eric Trump in my office Friday. I'm an investor in ABTC.
Okay.
Me and Eric did a video. We dropped a video yesterday of him in front of my office, had 1 million views on Instagram. But yeah, dude, but like how many guys out there are going to fail because they thought Bitcoin was going to be the saving grace? Yeah, no, it's not going to be the saving grace. Okay. You can go to church and take the holy bread, but you got to quit masturbating.
You're talking about treasury companies here, where a lot of companies just thought they could just buy it and perpetually sell their stock at a premium.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Like you can't just put Bitcoin. You have to have an operating basis. You have to run a company. You have to have a vision, a plan. Somebody's got to execute. Bitcoin is not the saving grace for the world. You have to change your behavior is my point. Like you still have to know how to run something. When you're done with the pipe, when you're done getting your money, you just went public and you got your 100 or 200 million dollars. I mean, what did David over at Naka get? 750 million?
Oh, I stay out of their affairs.
Well, whatever, dude. Like the story, you can do 50 of these stories, right?
Sure.
Once you've gotten your 100 million, 200 million, 700 million, now what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't have a premium above NAV, you're not going to be able to get any more money. And man, borrowing money is not a business strategy. You can't just borrow money forever. At some point, you need customers. You need income. You need cash flow. Real cash flow, not some made up yield that my value went up. I bought more Bitcoin. I call that yield. No offense, but yield to me means cash flow, new cash, profit. And so all these guys are copying what Mike Saylor did, but they forget that Mike Saylor started with customers. Mm-hmm. He had customers. He had customers. He had accounts receivables. He had payroll, bro. He had like those things he doesn't really want today. He had as the basis of the company. He had a bunch of dough. He converted the dough to Bitcoin. He built a massive treasury that most people that are coming in today don't have and won't have and can never catch up with.
Yeah, so I think Strategy and Michael Saylor, they got to scale selling the convertibles, and now they're at a point where they can sell preferreds. And that is their value-added business model, right? And I think Metaplanet is just approaching that point where they're at scale now. I don't know what their market cap is, but it's in the billions. And I think they're about to approach a similar strategy to Michael's company. So it will be interesting to see how they execute on that. They've done tremendously well until now, but I think they're the only two in the race at the moment. Everyone else is still trying to prove themselves. And like you said, many will fall and falter.
Yeah. That's the way the world works. That's not a Bitcoin problem, by the way. That's just entrepreneurship, business, cycles, gold rushes. Sure.
I mean, I'm really, I find your business model really quite compelling. I can't wait to see it scale because I surely believe that it will scale to many, many tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions, rather quickly. So I'm fascinated to watch that.
Imagine I have 20,000 investors. I was with a big bank and they said, you're telling me they can't even wrap their head around it. They're like, you have 20,000 investors that gave you $1.8 billion. They said, what do you pay for advertising? Nothing. What are the broker fees? Nothing. What do you mean? Nothing. I said, I don't pay any broker fees. What is the preferred return you give them? 0. What do you mean? What do you mean you don't have a preferred return? Well, in some deals we have a preferred return, but most of the money that we've rated is on a 0 pref, no pref. Meaning we're all in it at the same number. They said, okay, you don't pay for advertising. You don't pay a broker fee. There's no middleman. How long is your money good for? 10 years? They said, what do you mean 10 years? I said, 10 years. Archie invests in the fund with me for 10 years, and I have discretion if the 10-year cycle ends, and if it's not a good time to sell, I can go another 10 years.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, so you have money basically that's free, friendly, and forever. I said, exactly. They said, "Where'd you build it? How'd you get this model?" I said, I was at a dinner with Warren Buffett, and Warren said, "Never take money if there's a gun connected to your head." And that means if there's a time when you have to return the money, don't take it. And so that's what we did, dude. I just used my audience of 20 million people. 20,000 have invested with me, but the average investment's over 200 grand. It's closer to 500. What if I was a $5 stock? Okay. By the way, all my money's come from the United States. I have followers all over the world. I have 20 million followers online. What if the kid in Vietnam or Dubai or Iran could buy shares at $5? And I'm going to go tell everybody on social media, "Hey guys, I just took a company over, or I'm going public. I'm not going to be able to talk about it after Friday. Here's the ticker symbol. Monday morning, I'll be ringing the bell. Be there or be square." Okay. Now all these kids that follow me, 30% of my audience is Black and under 30 years old. Like, I've reached a lot of people. Okay. I have audiences from all over the world. They all look different. Like, we've very varied audience. I have probably 20% of my audience is over 60 years old, which is extremely varied. Okay. My kids bring a big audience. My wife brings a big audience. So if I'm a $5 stock, because none of these treasury companies had followings. Mike Saylor built his following because of what he did with Bitcoin. He didn't have it before then. Then how many people in Vietnam or Dubai or Australia say, "Yeah, I'll buy 1,000 shares at $5," because they never could access any of my investments before without that. So a lot of the banks are excited about this taking me public, because they're like, your retail audience is going to go wild over this offering.
Oh yeah, you've done their job for them. You've already got the distribution problem solved, and that's the hardest thing in business, to be honest, to get people's attention and get distribution. Yeah. And you've not only done that, you've got a brand, you've built trust, you've demonstrated excellence in returns as well over many, many years. So you've got that. You've done their job for them. So what value is it for them to bring to you now, the banks? It's like, okay, are you finding that you're in a very strong position to negotiate terms?
That's the problem. They're like, "Okay, Grant, we want to raise money for you." I said, "Well, yeah, but bro, I can already raise the money. Why would I take your money?" The only reason I would take their money is because I would like Fidelity and Merrill Lynch and T. Rowe Price and Robinhood. I'd like that money. I'd like that money. I'd like those names to be associated with our projects. That would give us a lift, brand lift, obviously.
Wouldn't that help you scale? Their sources of funds are much more readily scalable than yours. Not to suggest that you've exhausted your pool of investors, but at what point do you think you'd need to transition to a larger pool of funds?
It's just their names would be cool to have alongside mine. That gives me a lift, right? Mm-hmm. But what's it worth? It's not worth 8%. It's not worth 6%. I'm not paying 4%. Like, all these other guys have paid all the fees just because, well, so-and-so paid us 8%. I'm like, good for them, bro. I ain't paying 8%, bro. I got an audience. Mm-hmm. Okay. He didn't have an audience. He didn't have a choice. He had to come in here, take a knee, kiss the ring. I don't have to. Okay. So, but what I want to do is I want a little bit from your audience, and I'm going to go get a bunch from my audience. And if your audience doesn't show up, my audience is going to show up. They've already given me $1.8 billion. They've given me $1.8 billion the hard way. Okay. If they can buy stock and be liquid, dude, when you give me money, you're not liquid for 10 years. No redemptions, no gates, nothing. So if I could tell you, hey, you can have your money in 6 months and be liquid 5 days a week. And I can offer that to my audience. I just got to figure out the right vehicle, whether we want to use banks or not. But I think it's going to be it's going to be a massive thing for our investors. It's going to be phenomenal for anybody that's invested with me already. If I can bring them into the entity, which is a very big part of the complication. I'm trying to bring over my 20,000 investors, which may not be possible, by the way, because the SEC has never seen 20,000 new investors in an offering.
Yeah, I mean, excuse my naivety. I've never raised capital before, but if you're going to tap into the same pool of institutional investors who invest in real estate investment trusts, by the way, as sort of Michael Saylor's been doing, I mean, is there any particular reason why you couldn't scale at like $1 billion every 2 or 3 weeks?
No, there's no reason.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're looking for, $2 billion right now. So what I want right now is I want a $2 billion start. If a bank's out there listening to this right now, what I want from you is $2 billion to go out and buy $2 billion worth of real estate that I'll pay for in cash. I'm going to buy it 30% below replacement cost. It'll be cash flow positive day one. It'll produce $80 million of cash flow. I want to buy the real estate, and then I'm going to go put debt on it, $2 billion. I'm going to go put $1 billion for debt on it. Let's say $1 billion of debt. That means I'm going to get $1 billion back from Fannie Mae, and I'm going to go buy Bitcoin with that. So I'm going to end up with $2 billion worth of real estate. This worth 2.6. And I'm going to end up with $1 billion in Bitcoin. And both of them together will be cash flow positive and produce $80 million. It'll double my EBITDA. It'll double my cash flow, which we're going to use to buy more Bitcoin. And then we go public with that. I want to get a little bigger before we go public.
Do you think an individual investor who wants to do something like this independently can replicate your model?
Sure.
How would you recommend they go about doing that?
Get a following, build a brand.
No, I don't mean to replicate your fund model, but for themselves with their family money, they want to buy property.
Yeah.
Use funding to buy Bitcoin in addition to that. Because a lot of people have Bitcoin right now, but they can't get the funding to buy a property, for example. How do we unlock this value and get exposure to both assets without relinquishing ownership?
Yeah, so you're talking about an individual doing this or a competition?
No. Just an individual for themselves, not in a fund, not for investors, that sort of thing.
Well, you would buy a cash flow property. Let's say you found a property. Where do you live?
I'm in London, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's kind of hard over there, but you could still do it over there. You would find a cash flow property. Let's say a cash flow to 6 or 7 or 8% a year. And let's say it was, £1 million. You would take that asset and you say, okay, I'm going to buy it for £1 million and it cash flows 80,000 pounds a year or 70,000 pounds a year. I'm going to take it. I'm going to add enough Bitcoin to where it only cash flows 30,000 pounds. So I'm going to take the $1 million pounds. I'm going to add $200,000 of Bitcoin. I'm just guessing. 3,000. And so my cash flow now is going to go from 7% to 4%. You're probably not going to do it with just your money. You're going to raise money from other people. And you're going to show them, hey, dude, this thing could do 30 or 40% a year. We have the real estate and the Bitcoin. Do you want to invest in it? You would put it together. You would syndicate it. The problem's going to be with £1 million, you can't buy much.
No, yeah. Well, not in central London anyway.
Not anywhere, not in England. I mean, the further you go out, the worse the real estate gets. You know what I'm saying? You can buy cheaper, you can buy more real estate, but there's nobody there. You need cash flow. Well,
I just found out that 1-bedroom apartments in my building sell for £1 million, and there's no way in the world I'd pay £1 million for any of the apartments in my building. There's just no way.
Yeah. And then the problem with that is you got one tenant, and if the one tenant leaves, you have no income. Mm-hmm. This is an income model. This is why people don't, by the way, do well in real estate. Over 50% of the people that buy one real estate deal never buy a second deal because the first deal didn't work out. You need scale and the number of units. Like in Bitcoin, by the way, the number of units is the most important. Like in all businesses, by the way, the number of units is the most important math in business.
Tell us why.
Well, the number of Amazon units sold It's not, you can't get, you need scale. Okay. If I have one door and they leave, I'm 100% vacant. If I have 4 doors and one person leaves, I'm 75% occupied, 25% vacant.
Gotcha.
If I'm 40 doors and 10 people leave, I need 10 people to leave to get to the same number. If I'm 400 doors, okay, I could be 10% vacant. I still have 390 people paying rent. You need scale. Okay. Great company scale. If you own 1 Bitcoin, cool. But the price of Bitcoin is not as important as the number of units of Bitcoin. Right.
Yeah.
So it's how many units do you have of anything is the most important thing. If you're a grocer, if you run a grocery store, how many units, how many customers? It's the number of units. You can't make money if you don't have units.
Grant, what's the superior asset, Bitcoin or real estate?
Well, yesterday it was real estate. When it was dropping from 106 to 98, people talking about it going to 94, 75's coming. We're going back to 40. Bro, on that day, it's real estate. When Bitcoin's going from 98 back to 106, it's the Bitcoin. Okay. When real estate needs a new roof or gutters or plumbing or whatever problem it's got, when it has problems, it's Bitcoin. So which one would I rather have? It depends on where I'm at in life and what I'm trying to, I want both of them, dude. I want both of them because my business model is built on both of them. So I'm really talking my book.
Yeah, the volatility of Bitcoin is one of the downsides for people who are not familiar with Bitcoin's properties and its longer term returns. As we like to say, the volatility is the price of superior returns. But then you've got the maintenance of real estate, of course, which is a massive headache for any landlord as well. So I guess you putting them all together in the basket, you get the best of all worlds, and you get to manage the downside over the long term. And you just mentioned now that when you're investing in real estate at scale, you mitigate a lot of the risks as well. Yeah,
it's kind of like this. I see it kind of like real estate is Superman. Maybe not. Maybe it's not Superman. Real estate would be more like, I don't know, superheroes. I'm looking for superheroes. Maybe it's more like Hulk, heavy, kind of slower, can't fly. Bitcoin Superman. Okay. But the point is, if you do the Superman movie, you go to Superman, you watch Superman, and then they come out with a Hulk movie, then you go watch the Hulk but put the two together, bro. Okay. Yeah. Bring in Spider-Man. Like what I'm doing is basically putting the Avengers. I'm creating an Avenger fund of superheroes, right? You don't have to pick whether he can fly or he's strong, right? I'm putting together 2 superheroes, which is one that's very volatile, intangible, can't touch it. It's digital. The other one's extremely heavy. It's like a yin yang thing, that I think is going to create a tremendous, a new industry. I believe, to make a big claim, I believe that this real estate Bitcoin fund is going to be the biggest thing that's happened in real estate for 65 years. Since the creation of the REITs in 1960, nothing new has happened in real estate for 65 years. Same bullshit, old, boring, underperforming, stable, consistent, low smoke, just same thing over and over. This is like when I add Bitcoin, layer Bitcoin on top of this real estate, I create an entity that solves so many problems and takes best in class 2,000-year proven real estate, combine it with a 16-year-old asset called Bitcoin, fuse the two together. I have liquidity, illiquidity, volatility, stability, no cash flow, tax write-offs that Bitcoiners would love to have.
Yeah.
Imagine Imagine owning $100 million worth of Bitcoin and getting a $40 million tax break. That's what we're getting on this fund, by the way. Every investor gets a percentage of a $40 to $45 million tax break when we buy the asset.
I can see
And
the
we have-
investment banks salivating over this model, and I just wonder how quickly do you think the real estate industry will recognize what's happening with Bitcoin? Because I did mention earlier, almost at the beginning of this interview, that I find real estate investors are second only to gold investors as being reticent to embrace Bitcoin. But you can't argue with superior returns, and as soon as you list this entity and your numbers, your returns are going to be made public, and to get the mainstream coverage of the Bloombergs, the Wall Street Journals, and whatever. How quickly do you think that industry will reassess and change and potentially pivot?
Yeah. Well, there's $4 trillion that can never pivot. That's the REITs. The entire industry they basically are strapped by their own regulation.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I wrote a book called If You're Not First, You're Last. And in that book, I said, hey, make a list of your competitors and then make a list of what they cannot do. Okay. If they can't do it, you should do it. So you're taking advantage of what somebody can't do. The REITs cannot do this. None of them, no matter how big they are, how much money they have, how connected they are, they can never, ever own Bitcoin. So I'm putting a monster moat around my business because my biggest competitors can never, ever do this under any conditions. The moment they try to hold Bitcoin, they basically violate their tax structure. Number one, that's my first moat. And when you first took an industry, you want to see how big is that industry, and two, can you protect yourself against competition? The second moat is the quality of real estate we're buying. Okay, you cannot just decide today to go buy a $120 million trophy. You have to be in the game. So that's my second moat. You can go buy junk real estate and add it, but who's going to be excited about it? Okay. You want to buy best in class, cash flow positive. And the third moat that I have that others won't have is my audience. If the institutions don't support it, I can validate this with my 20 million followers. They're going to invest with me. They're going to support me. And, that gives me a long time, dude. It gives me a long time to basically, I talk to audiences, Archie, that other people don't talk to. John Gray that runs Blackstone's not coming on your show. Okay. And by the way, if he comes on the show, he's coming on once. I'm going to come on your show, and then they're going to see me on Instagram today. Then they're going to see me on X later tonight. Then they're going to see me on Facebook tomorrow. Then they're going to see me on TikTok, Rumble. Like John Gray might show up. No offense, John's an unbelievable, guy at Blackstone, but he's not using these social mechanisms, these platforms for distribution to talk to regular people in a regular way, like I talk to people. So those are my thoughts: the asset, the Bitcoin, and the audience. And I think it'll be a long time before they get there.
I think you've got a really powerful business model. Like I said before, I can't wait to watch it scale and change the industry and punch another hole into the global capital markets and funnel some of that money into Bitcoin, because it's surely about to happen. Grant Cardone, thank you for joining us. Tell everybody where they can find you on your preferred socials and your website.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you just search my name one time, I'll do the rest of the work. You won't have to follow me anywhere. I'll make sure you know where I'm at on whatever channel. But if you want to know about that, the real estate, the Boca Bitcoin deal, go to cardonecapital.com. You can see it there. You can see the returns. You can download the prospectus. And if you want to invest with that, we expect that to be our lead vehicle going public. I'm not promising we'll be able to take that public, but that deal should do a 3 or 4x return by itself. If we take it public, we think that could be 12 or 15x. And we're going to try to take that as a the lead entity into the public offering.
Man, Bitcoin and real estate, it's a match made in heaven. Grant Cardone, thank you so much.
Thanks, Archie. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, man.